Hello and welcome to this episode of QI Corner. I am 1031 Broker James. This is brought to you by 1031 Rules and supported by CRE Task Wizard. With me is my co-host and good friend, Mr. Greg Burns of IPX 1031. Hello, Greg.
Hi, James. How you doing?
I am doing great. How about those Dodgers?
Yeah, they are. They are. We dropped one last night, but they've been doing good.
Yeah, super fun to watch. And Otani taking the mound last week, and yeah, super exciting stuff to watch.
Yeah, he got plucked twice by the Padres. This series was a little bit contentious.
This, 4-game series with the Padres. 8 batters got hit.
Yeah.
Well, there was 8 hit by pitches. A couple of them got hit twice.
Yeah.
Including Shohei and Tatis got hit 3 times, I think.
Yeah, both guys you don't really want to see get hit. That's for sure.
No, ever. So interesting series, for sure. So we're going to dive in today. We're going to talk about related party issues.
Yeah.
So, and this comes up a lot. It's actually, especially in today's world where there's this tremendous transfer of wealth and, parents have set up trust with their kids as the heirs, and now the kids have properties and they share them, and many times the kids aren't getting along, the siblings aren't getting along. And that was the case that I brought to you last week. I was referred to a case where the fiduciary called me and said, hey, I've got a client who has properties, interest in a property, shares them with his sister, and they don't get along. And the sister just decided she's the one who's the trustee. She's calling all the shots. There's 3 apartment complexes and they're going to sell. And the brother was like, hey, how about if we sell the 2 and I take the proceeds from the sale of those 2 and buy her out on the 3rd? And there were a couple of questions that came up. And what'd you tell me?
So there are special rules under 1031. It's a subsection of 1031 called subsection F, which deals with kind of related party transactions. And the reason that they've come up with these rules was to deal with people that were kind of doing basis shifting, where they were, family members were selling a property that had like a low basis and had a lot of tax exposure in it, and they would trade it into another family member's property that had maybe a high basis in it and had very little tax exposure. And so because of, the ability to kind of open that up to some fraud, the IRS developed kind of special rules around exchanging with related parties. Now, related parties can buy and sell from each other, but there are special rules that deal with that. And so if you and I, let's say, are brothers, right, and I sell a property, and you have a property that I would like to buy, I can buy it from you as part of a 1031 exchange. But you then have to spin off into an exchange and buy property from an unrelated third party, and then we're required to hold those properties for 2 years. And so that's kind of where the challenge comes in. You see it a lot right now with someone's like selling a property. Maybe they want to buy their parents' property where they still live. But the parents obviously can't do an exchange because it's their primary residence. So there's lots of scenarios where you kind of run afoul of these rules, especially in cases like the one that you had last week.
Yeah, that was when we talked about it, is the only way that my client could do what he wanted to do is that the sister would have to exchange into an unrelated party's property, like you just said.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate in cases like that because, they should have some guidance from the IRS where there is, a situation where the client has the ability to, acquire 100% interest maybe in a property that was inherited. Because there are a lot of people where they're in the exact same situation that we were talking about, where, you have siblings that inherit a property from their parents, at some point down the road, they want to sell them. And maybe to buy them out, one of the siblings says, okay, well, I'll sell this other property that I own. I'll 1031 exchange it and buy you guys out of it and acquire 100% of the property. Problem is that the siblings may want to cash out. Maybe it's close to the time they inherited it, so they got to step up in basis and they don't need to 1031 because there's really no gain. Because I think that there's some really legitimate reasons why people, want to do these related party transactions.
Right. Yeah. Because what happened in this case is the sister said no. She's just going to cash out and take $1 million tax hit, but she's willing to do that. I don't know what the other, how much they're worth in total, that she's okay with just taking $1 million tax hit just in despite of her brother. So yeah, it's really unfortunate because that would have been a great structure for my client to be able to went ahead and sell the two assets, exchange into the third. This third is the larger of the three, and it would have really made great sense for him. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate that happens, and I do come across this a lot where the case where the kids are in the trust, and so they are part of it, and there is a significant tax implication if they do just sell the cash out. Yeah. But like you said, there's always one or two that are, we'll just say, better off financially than maybe the one. And the one's like, look, I need the cash, right, and I'm taking the cash. And it puts the other two in a precarious situation.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, I think we talked about last time, is that if a sibling, let's say they inherit property and one of the siblings really wants to sell and let's say the other ones don't, if the one sibling that wants to sell, hires a lawyer and they file a right to partition, the court always grants it. So they're always going to be forced to sell the property, which is challenging. And it is very common that when, you have siblings inherit property, that they're at different financial places in their lives. And some might need the cash, some don't need the cash. And, you and I, when we see, a transaction like that, we're in the world of, hey, how do we maximize people's, equity to get the most out of it, right? And when we see somebody paying $1 million in taxes, we're like, don't do that, right? Like, we can exchange, we can get you into property, you could maybe refinance, the thing will still produce cash, right? And so we are always looking at how do we maximize people's capital and how do we, reduce the amount of money that we have to, pay in taxes through real estate. And I think some people, can maybe have a little bit of a short-sighted look at that and don't really explore the options with somebody like you. Of like, okay, well, I need capital. How do I get capital? Can I? And you could probably have come up with a structure where you could have traded them into a property with all cash, and then they could have refinanced out probably, $600,000 or $700,000 from that property. Still had, had that cash, and then had $300,000 or $400,000 more of equity in that deal, making them money. And now they own this other real estate as well. So,
yep, and it happens. What are some of the other challenges you've seen? Because I know that I've also been in cases where, the family, everybody's alive. The structure or the related party structure, is a family limited partnership. In fact, I do have a case right now where I believe there's 4 siblings. They all 4 own equal shares. And I believe there's 4 apartment complexes. They're thinking of selling one. The good news is that they all 4 want to exchange together. So I don't think there's an issue with that, right?
No, there's no issue when, when a family limited partnership sells and they want to go their separate ways, or they want to, go together and do an exchange, there's no issue. It's just buying and selling from related parties. And related parties, they're pretty it's not like an uncle's not really considered a related party or a cousin. It's typically like linear descendants, right? So like mom and dad, brother and sister. Those are the types of people that are considered related parties. So I get people that call me all the time like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy the property from my son-in-law. I'm like, well, is your son-in-law married to your daughter? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, your daughter's considered a related party. And the other issue I think that comes up, I'm all for being aggressive from a tax perspective.
Sure.
But when you're doing a related party transaction, if you're kind of knowingly doing something in there that they say not to do, I'm always of the opinion probably not the best idea to do it, because you have to check a box on that 8824 tax return form that says you've done with an exchange with a related party, which I think increases your chances of getting audited. So I would say that, ideally you kind of don't want to do that.
Yes. Are you aware of any family partnership structures that, are not allowed to exchange?
No, I mean, where you run into issues with 1031s are like S corporations and C corporations when they want to go their separate ways. S corporations are virtually almost impossible to get out of, but at least that I'm aware of. Where you've got somebody that calls in, and that's something we could certainly talk about, on a call where we talk about different partnership issues.
Okay. Yeah. What if there's 3 related parties in a family limited partnership and one of them does want to cash out and they're not in a hurry to sell? Is there something that they can do? I believe they can swap out and to do a tenants in common where the 3 who want to exchange stay within the partnership and the 4th be dropped out into a tenants in common. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think that structure works just fine. And I think that in California, when you do just a purely drop and swap, you run into the issue of like, did we hold the property for investment or did we hold it primarily for sale? You run into that issue kind of in California and New York. But if you have a situation where you have a family limited partnership or some sort of a partnership, whether it's LLC or what might have you, and only one partner wants to get out, I think that you could just remove that one partner from the operating agreement, give them an undivided tenant in common interest in real estate. And as long as they're cashing out and not exchanging, I think that you don't have to really cease in the property, because the entity that's selling, right, they've held the property for investment. So they can't, the franchise tax board can't make that argument against them that they held the property primarily for sale, because they've always held it for investment.
Right. Yeah, because typically in those cases, they've owned the property for a long time.
Yeah.
Usually decades. So,
yeah.
Awesome. Great conversation here today. Thank you, Greg, and thank you for everybody that's watching. Once again, this is QI Corner. We post a couple of episodes every month, and be sure to like, subscribe, make some comments so that we can come back and answer any comments that you might have. And we will see you next time.